But needless to say that Jim Trakas, been a long-time member of the community. He served our communities. Started at age 12 when he delivered the Cleveland Press. That was a year before I started. I was 13. And he graduated at Ohio State University. I had the same route. He is former chairman of the County Republican Party. He's Battalion Commander, the 1st Civil Support Sustainment Battalion. That's with Ohio Military Reserve. And he's active in his church and Greek community, and is a faithful supporter of our movement. Therefore, I want to present the American Nationalities Freedom Award to James P. Trakas.
Thank you. Judge Perk, my dear friend Irene Morrow, leaders of the movement, reverend clergy, family, elected officials, honored guests, fellow lovers of freedom. It is with the greatest of humility and honor that I do receive this tremendous Freedom Award by a movement that I passionately love and support. I think the true greats of our nationalities communities, the people who have made this award possible over the years, people like Mayor Ralph Perk, Judge Perk, Grace and Ray Caducas, Minor George, August Poost, Senator George Voinovich, Taras Shmigala, Walter Nagordny, Joe from the German community, Vladimir Rus. There's so many others who I've had the privilege to know and work with over the years. To me, this award represents the embodiment of my raison d'etre. My whole reason to be is freedom. It is the organizing principle of my life. 101 years ago, James and Urania Koukloudis and Vasilios and Eleni Trakas boarded ships from the Kingdom of Greece and made their way to the New World. It was the great cause of freedom and economic opportunity thereof that drove their passion for America. My grandfather, William Trakas, had read books on Abraham Lincoln, and he believed that Lincoln's America was the manifestation of the Greek ideal of democracy, set out by Cleisthenes, Solon, Pericles, and the great thinkers of Athenian democracy. The world of 1922 saw an emerging United States as a power in the world, but the Republic, as did all the free countries, sunk into a dangerous isolationism in the post-war world. As my grandparents struggled to survive the Great Depression, the free world was wrought with debt and despair over the horrors of war. And we were overcome with isolation that led us to stick our heads in the sand and pretend that world events around us did not affect us. Indeed, one of our heroes of the age, Colonel Charles Lindbergh, became the poster child for that isolationism. But the world was being lit afire. The dictatorships were rising. The twin evil cousins of fascism and Bolshevism, sweeping the continents and spreading their dastardly oppression of the human condition throughout the world. It was this world that were the formative years of my own parents. We were awakened from our foolish slumber 82 years ago this Thursday by a hostile power dropping bombs on the American naval and military installations at Pearl Harbor. My father, Staff Sergeant Peter W. Trakas, and 16 million Americans joined the American Expeditionary Forces. But after 15 million souls had to perish, a Second World War brought down fascism. Every day of my father's life, he was affected by the conflict. 78 years ago this week, he lost his best friend, Private First Class Charles Politic, on the banks of the Saar River near Ensdorf, Germany. As my father went on to earn the Bronze Star Medal, departing from an assault boat that morning, he took 3 enemy pillboxes in a single action, but his fellow Greek American fell just a few feet behind him as the assault began. It was the Cold War and my grandfather and father's experiences during the First and Second World Wars that had defined me as an American. 20 years before my birth, America stayed in the world, and established international accords, vital alliances like NATO, to assure that the folly of isolationism would not lead the world to war again. We established principles that godless communism was not to be tolerated here or abroad. This movement, the American Nationalities Movement, rose up from the hearts of the free who desired to see our own home nations free. Enslavement by the Soviet beast was an anathema to our principles. By the 1980s, America stopped containing communism and actively fought back, seeking not to exist with the beast, but to slay it. The sacrifice of everyone in this movement led to grand celebrations as one by one, the nations of Europe were freed from bondage and self-determination was assured. We won! We won because we fought hard. We supported freedom movements abroad. We boldly asserted that humanity should be free. We listened to the voices of St. John Paul, whose freedom movement himself, combined with the powers in Britain and the United States, helped take down the evil curse. We built superior armed forces, we sacrificed, and the voices of this movement were part of destroying the hammer and sickle in Europe. But there was and remained work to be done, as Councilman Polensek said so well. The colored revolutions ousted authoritarian thinkers from power. I remember vividly the day of the Orange Revolution in this very room, where our Ukrainian brothers and sisters wore orange ties and pocket squares. It was action and words that helped bring about that day, and it was glorious. For me, the Polish Solidarity Movement brought it all home. I wore the Solidarity bumper sticker on my college rucksack as I walked to class. I attended fundraisers, handed out informational packets to support the Afghan freedom fighters, and then the freedom fighters in Nicaragua and El Salvador. I gave speeches on the topic before I turned the age of 20. Their struggle was our struggle, and it had to be supported. Why do I relate all this history on this beautiful day of this award? Well, I'm no Winston Churchill, although he's one of my personal heroes. But like Churchill, I do sound the alarm that America must awaken as a new folly of isolationist slumber is befalling our land. It is dangerous, and I urge all who hear to reverse these trends. The cause of freedom is alive and well in the hearts of the men and women who are falling on the steps of Ukraine. Do we hear their pleas? Do we not understand the stakes of an authoritarian dictatorship is allowed to take a free country and then turn men and women back into slaves? I hearken back to Imperial Japan's 1934 invasion of China. The free world stood by while a monstrous tyranny manifested itself over good and decent people. We stuck our heads in the sand then. Let us not do the same now. It led to those 50 million deaths in the Second World War. The struggle in Ukraine is the struggle of all who strive for peace, justice, and liberty. I accept this gracious award with this essential meeting in the name of all those who came before us. The greats of this movement who would not be silent. The greats of our movement who took action, who lobbied Congress and the White House to do all America could to free the enslaved. They showed us the way, and we can and must follow that way. In the name of freedom, I implore all those who will listen to work against isolationism, to assure that America and our essential values are the values of the world. Retreat is for the yellow bellies. That's my dad's Commander General George S. Patton talking. But advancing is always the tactic of winners, and Americans are winners. The Freedom Award is deeply personal to me. It means something. I cannot thank Judge Perk and the movement enough for this award. When I chose to wear the uniform of the Republic and became a military officer after my career in politics ramped down, I made a choice to serve. I tried to live the Army values, in and out of uniform. They are the values that matter, and service is part of what made that greatest generation great. As they fade from our lives, let us not allow that generation to fade from our memories. These were God-fearing and moral people. The greatest generation knew right from wrong and acted accordingly. My parents' generation were classically educated, were guided by the principles of Western civilization, born in Athens and fostered in America. They were family people, They understood the Judeo-Christian Muslim ethic of treating individuals with dignity and respect. Theirs is a legacy of greatness. Let us emulate them. Let us emulate the heroes of this movement. They are with us today. They showed us the way. Now it is our duty to take the flag of liberty before it is allowed to fall and show the way to the generations that come behind us. To my sweet wife Anne, my sister Ronnie who's here, and my family, and all those who let me toil in the cause of freedom, my dear friends, and all those whom I have worked with, many of you in this room, thank you for your love and support. Let us always together advance the great cause of freedom. Let us defeat authoritarianism and isolationism, and always support a more godly world in all that we do. Long live the cause of freedom. Long live the United States of America. Advance Hellenism. May the blessings of the Almighty God be with you in this movement, our dear republic, and all of you. I thank you most sincerely.